Like I feel more confident now, especially in my business than I ever have before, because I feel like I can just effortlessly show up and be myself. So I'm an extrovert, like extremely, extremely extroverted sometimes. And I've been in situations where I feel like I have to hold myself back. And I hate that to my core. So now I don't know, I have this new confidence. Like I can just show up and just be me. Like I'm going to be an extrovert. And that's it. If people like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. I show up at weddings and I know the right time and place, obviously, where to be a fly on the wall. But then I also know that I've given myself permission to just be myself. If I want to dance with my couples, I'm going to dance. If I want to, I don't know, jump in the water with them, I'm just gonna. Like I used to have this like reserve of like, oh, I can't be too crazy. Like, no, just be me.
When I first started my wedding photography business back in 2011, I made just $5,000 in my business. Now, I bring in multiple six figures per year while working only 30-hour weeks serving my dream couples. I'm here to help you discover that it's so possible to have what you want when you want in your business so that you can create the life you've always dreamed of and deserve. Well, Tia, welcome so much to the Shine Your Thrive. I literally just said that. That's so funny. Welcome to the Shine Your Thrive podcast.
I mean, it works.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to have you here and to chat with you. And again, I'm so grateful with everything that you're going to be sharing. And I know a lot of my listeners are going to be so grateful that you're going to share everything that you're going to share.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me. This is like, I'm kind of nervous, not going to lie, but also like just really pumped.
And actually, I think you need to share what you just told me before we officially started recording about how you wanted to be on a what and what ended up happening. You should might as well.
Literally, I was talking to a friend and we were chatting and I was like feeling super inspired about how I really wanted to be on a podcast. We talked about it. She's like, you should start one day. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'd love to be on one first. And literally 2 days later, got an email from you. And now here I am. So kind of the universe just kind of handed me exactly what I needed at the right time. So
exactly. The power of conversations that are just brainstorming, Seriously. Dreaming big, aligned with what you want.
Yeah, you just got to put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure everybody would love to know a little bit more about you. So just to give us a little insight into that world, let us know what kind of a photographer are you, just so people can know like what you love photographing, and also share a random fact with us. Okay, about you.
About me. That's good. I am a wedding photographer. I do like a little bit of like everything, but like since lately, and especially since like the last few months, I've really been niching down on wedding photography and couples. I love it. It's literally the one thing in my life that like honestly brings me joy, even if I'm like burnt out and exhausted. So that's amazing. And yeah, a random fact about me. I'm a morning person, like through and through. Like there's like, I actually do not like being up late. I could sleep until 12 and I still want to go to bed at like 10 o'clock. I'd much rather get up at 6 a.m. Like I'm like a 6, 7 a.m. person. If I could, that would be my ideal schedule, is like wake up at 7 and go to bed at 11.
Oh my God, give me all of your powers, because
I know it's funny because my partner's the opposite. So
really,
his schedule is like, he'd rather stay up late and like sleep in late. And I'm like, nope, let me get up early when the sun comes up. And in the winter, it's hard, but like go to bed when it gets dark. So in the winter, that's kind of tough for me. But
how do you deal with the winter mornings? Because I feel like every summer, as soon as it starts getting like light out at like 6 or 7 a.m., I'm like, you know what? I believe this year I will change into a morning person because I see so many benefits of it. Right. But naturally, I've been such a night owl for most of my life. So how do you navigate the mornings when you wake up and it's still dark? Because it really fucks with my head.
It does. No, it actually does. Honestly, like I think a big thing for me, and I'm a very much of like a natural light person. Like I thrive best in natural light. So in the winter when it is still dark in the morning, I will usually wake up, but I usually just stay in bed. So whether it's like reading or even just like taking just honestly like being awake, but just like resting. And as soon as it starts to get bright out, then I'm like, okay, like I feel like I could start my day. I'm not gonna lie, like if I sleep in, like I actually like my whole day is like flipped upside down. Like I feel very like uncomfortable with how the day is going. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's awesome. That's a good thing to do. Like just like wake up, it's still dark. Okay, let me just turn on the light, start reading a book, get my brain going.
Exactly. I have like
Yeah,
a little
that's a
book
really good
light, so
tip.
like my partner can still sleep and I can like read my book. Like it's great.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am so excited to dive into today's chat. And I would love to know. So in the intro to this episode, I shared that you're my crystal clear marketing student. So it's a
Yes.
mini course. It's a 5 lesson mini course, 5 homework assignments. I made sure to design it that way. So it's not like a huge, deep, overwhelming course on marketing, but you can take it in a short amount of time. When you do the work, you'll get big, big, big results. So I'm
Big
so
time.
excited to dive in and talk about those results. But before we go there, I would love to know, take us back to how did you feel about marketing your photography business before you took CCM? So we're just going to call it CCM just to keep it easy.
Okay. Um, Exhausted. Like I feel like that's like the most easiest word I can use. A little bit of a backstory. Uh, 2020 March, everything closed down. I took that really hard. I was like, like being at home and like not being able to do what I love. Like honestly, kind of broke me in a way. But I also realized I was identifying myself as a photographer and like my identity was completely attached to that. So I realized like during this whole process of building my business and like obviously doing what I love, I kind of lost who I was at my core. So when I wasn't able to do what I love, I really was like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I feel lost. I feel like empty. So it really was a good opportunity for me to like dive deep into who I was. And once I started working again, 2021, obviously it got a little bit busier. That's when I realized that like as I was diving in, I something just didn't add up. Something didn't feel right. I didn't feel as connected with my business as I did beforehand. And I feel like it's really because I kind of separated myself from my business. And I felt like what I was trying to portray as a photographer and like in my business was not really who I was. So my first thought was to rebrand. I was like, I'm going to rebrand. I did that and like I loved it. Like I did my own website, did client guides, investment guides. It was awesome, except it still wasn't enough. Like something still wasn't clicking. I still didn't feel as connected with my business as like I should. And at that time I was doing a lot of driving, listening to your podcasts, and I had so many questions for you. That was my first time. I remember driving, listening to you talk, and at that point I binged like all of them. Because I did so much driving. So I was like, yeah, I have so many questions. I'm going to book a coaching call. And I remember the first thing you said after you kind of dove into my website and everything, you're like, I think you could benefit from taking CCM first before we chat. I was like, okay, like what do I have to lose? Like, why not? So I did it. And like, honestly, ever since, I feel so much less exhausted. Like, I feel like I don't actually have to try to market myself. Like, if that makes sense, like I'm not like intentionally putting out effort to like, I'm going to market myself in this way today. It's just like, I'm just showing up. Like I'm just doing what I do and being myself. And it's just so much easier.
Oh my gosh, I love how you shared that whole journey because everything that I teach in CCM is what I learned at one point in my business, right? 6, 7 years ago. And I went through the same feelings that you did. It's kind of like there was this like feeling of feeling trapped in some kind of cage in my business of me not feeling super connected to my clients for some reason, my brand. I felt lost as a person. I'm like, who am I even,
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to travel and find myself, but like,
I mean, I did that too.
yeah. Yeah. But I love how you just like openly shared that that was your kind of journey. Cause man, it is a whole thing to dive into to figure out how to brand yourself in a way that is authentic to you, in a fearless way, and in a way that actually still gets you bookings, right? Because I think a lot of the time we're scared to market ourselves wrong or brand ourselves wrong to not get bookings and clients and all of that, right? So I love how you now said that how you felt was exhausted and your transformation was feeling re-energized and like that marketing is now effortless for you, because that's the exact same transformation I had. Because like it's effortless to be yourself when you really know who you are, what you stand for, who you are at your core. Oh my gosh. Right?
So much easier. So much easier. Like it's like a weight lifted off my shoulders.
Oh, I'm just so happy and so proud. And because like it's one thing to, invest in yourself and dive into a course, but it's another thing to actually go through and do the homework, because that is where the
Exactly.
transformation happens. And you
Big
did
time.
that. And so I like huge, like
Yeah.
hats off to you for actually doing the work, because now you're like reaping the
Thank you.
benefits.
Oh, big time.
Um,
Yeah. I'm feeling
yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And okay, so now talking about CCM, what kind of clarity outside of what we already talked about, did you get from doing the work in CCM? Like what were some of your favorite aha moments?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think a big thing and that I kind of really absorbed and that really kind of stuck with me was the whole natural filter that you talked about.
Mhm.
That part of it just kind of really showed me, like, I was trying so hard, I think, to attract these couples and clients and the people that I wanted to work with, but I wasn't showing up in that way. Like I wasn't showing up in the way that I want. And like you mentioned at one point, I'm not sure if this was in the course now or in a podcast, but you had said something like, "You are your ideal client," and I'm like, I 100%, I totally am. Like I would love to work with myself, which sounds
I
weird, but
love
like
that.
it's
Yeah.
so true. So I'm like, if I want to attract people that are like me, I need to show who I am, and that natural filter of like just showing up and being myself, and like the right people who enjoy that part of me will come to me. And then, once I learned that, everything else and implementing everything just kind of fit right into place, because it was like, I will do the work because I know that it will work. So
Yeah.
that was like the one thing I think in the course. I was like, okay, like if you really just figure out who you are at your core, and then implement everything, it all should fall right into place.
So what's one of the first things that you can kind of remember that you did to show up as yourself authentically in order to attract like-minded clients, your dream clients who are technically you, right?
Yeah.
Like what was one of the first things that you did?
I think the big thing is vulnerability. I mean, there's still things obviously that like I keep personal in my life, and I know we all do.
Mm-hmm.
Like my entire life isn't on social media, but I've been a lot more open, just with sharing things that maybe don't necessarily pertain to my business. And I kind of did that before, but it was more like, look what I'm doing today. This is fun. Like, but now I'm kind of sharing more of like the not perfect stuff either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something I recently shared was like a struggle that I've had with binge eating and disordered eating. And like that's something I've been a little bit more open with on my social media. And I had so many people connect with me about that. And it kind of blew my mind, because if I hadn't shared that, so many other people wouldn't have known that like someone else is going through that. And every time someone messaged me, I'm like, I just want you to know, like, you're not the only one. And I feel like that created such a connect. And like by me being open, like I feel like I'm creating so many more connections with people that I never would have otherwise. It feels good. It's scary. It's terrifying. Sometimes I'm like, am I actually going to put this out there? But I'm not embarrassed of it. And it's as long as like I'm not like I'm just trying to take away the shame of things. Like we're human. People have things in their life that aren't perfect, so it's good to be open about them. And they're probably someone else who's also going through something similar.
Oh my gosh, so many takeaways from what you just said, because number one, you get to always choose what you share. There's never
Exactly.
anything you should share. So you choose how deep you go, right? Number two, whenever you do choose to share that thing that technically, quote unquote, is or like a flaw or an imperfection
Yeah.
in your eyes, it creates connection because it's very relatable.
Mhm.
And then it goes into this beautiful space of cultivating trust, because the way our minds kind of work to trust people is like as soon as someone else is vulnerable and opens up, we automatically have this feeling to trust them because they're sharing something so openly. It's like,
Mhm.
well, if they're sharing that, what do they have to hide? And so that creates
Exactly.
like people that are following you because you're doing the thing where you're showing your photography and your work, and people are like, oh, I love her work, I love her photography. And then on top of that, you add a layer of Tia being Tia and relatable and
Yeah.
showing her quote unquote flaws.
Exactly.
It creates this trust where this is where you're going to start getting emails of people being like, I love you. I followed you for so long. I love your work. Like, how do we book you? It's not even like
Exactly.
we need a consultation. It's like, how do we book you?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think one thing, and I heard this recently, and it's kind of stuck in my head, was that is online Tia the same as in-person Tia?
Mm,
And that's something I've really been trying to focus on. Like when I'm with my friends, who am I? And when I'm showing up online, who am I? Am I that same person? No, obviously, again, there's going to be things that you share with friends that you're not going to share on social media, and that's normal. But am I being the same person? Are my values the same? Am I showing up the same? Because I truly, and especially lately, and the more I kind of learn who I am and like embrace myself and gain a confidence, I'm like, I like who I am, and I like who I am when I'm with my friends and people that mean something to me. So I also want to be that same person when I'm online. And that has been like, when I think about that, when I'm showing up, I'm like, that helps a lot. And just really showing up as like authentically who I am.
That is so powerful. And wouldn't you say that that is what makes like business more effortless for you? Because if you
Oh,
act from a
100%.
place of alignment, of like you just
I'm just
making
being myself.
decisions that Tia would do whether in business or not,
Exactly.
everything becomes so easy, right?
Yeah, I'm just being me. Like I'm literally just I'm doing my everyday thing of just showing up when I feel like I have something that's cool to share. You know, if I feel like I have something that needs to be said, I say it. And I mean, whether I say it online or I write it in my journal or I tell it to a friend, I probably would have said it that day anyways.
Yeah.
So if it's something I feel comfortable sharing, like I might as well and connect with people on it.
And what if someone listening right now is like, well, oh, I can't think of anything like big enough, like dealing with something like binge eating, or like I don't know what to share. Like what if the people are like, well, my life isn't interesting enough? Like, what would
Oh
you say to them? Like
I feel
what to
like
share?
everyone's life has interest in it, and it
Yeah.
can be the smallest thing. Someone shares a book that they love,
Yeah.
and I love books. So someone online, and I had a friend share this book too, but someone shared this book called Verity, and I actually just finished reading it yesterday. Like I binged it in 2 days, and someone posted it, and I was like, wow, it looks like a good book. And my friend's like, you should read that book. I went back to that person who posted that book and was like, just so you know, you shared that. I thought about it, had to go get it, and I'm like, I'm obsessed. It's the best book ever. And it was literally something so simple as like posting a book that they read and that they enjoyed, because there are people that will connect on that.
Yeah.
Whether it be like sharing your favorite recipe, or I don't know, it could be something so simple. There's going to be someone that connects on
The
it.
fact that you're
I
going
love
for
when
a
people
walk
share.
could like
Exactly.
motivate someone to go for a walk. Like it's
No,
just
literally. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like I see one of my friends always shares when she goes on a morning hike with her dog. And honestly, she looks like she has so much fun. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go on a hike with my dog. Why not? Like, and I'll message her, be like, look, I went on a hike too. You inspired me. Like it can be something so simple. But sometimes people just want to see depth. They want to see something, want to see what interests people. Like I love to know about people and like learn about them. What does bring them joy? What is something that they have interest in? Because we all have different things in our life that kind of sparks joy. And like chances are there's going to be someone out there that has the same interest. And it feels good to talk with people who also share your interests.
Yeah. And on top of that, they're your ideal client with whatever
Exactly.
portrait or wedding photography you're
Exactly.
offering, right?
Like literally small story, but like one of my clients, one of my brides, she ended up sharing, there's a music festival that's going on in Las Vegas this summer. And the lineup was like a bunch of like punk rock, like that kind of music. And like, I don't normally share that I listen to that kind of stuff, but I freaking love that music, like My Chemical Romance, Paramore. And when she shared that, I was like, you like this music too? Like, this is so cool. And it was like something I could connect on with one of my couples. She hadn't shared that. I wouldn't have known that. And I probably wouldn't have shared that I like that music, but I am. So
I love that so much. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh yeah. And for my bookworms listening, I know that they're going to be like, can you ask her the book name again? Like just so that they can, in
It's
case
so
they're
good.
curious. What's it called
Yeah,
again?
it's called Verity by Colleen Hoover. I think that's her name. It's mind-blowingly good.
Okay. Awesome. What genre is it?
It's a thriller.
Okay, thriller. See,
Yeah.
I literally all I read is personal development or business development. Like
I
you
go back and
cannot
forth.
catch me. The people that can just like read stories, I'm like, you know what? I'm jealous of you because I feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not like developing.
That's what my partner thinks too. He's like, why don't you read something that like gives you information? I'm like, what it does, it gives me joy.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. What do I want to ask you next? Maybe even like, okay, what's another thing that you've put into action from CCM that gave you results?
Oh, okay. I think another big thing that like that really kind of made some sort of difference was my website. I started showing more work of like what actually aligned with me, and same with my social media. Before I was kind of sharing things that I just thought I should share. I'm like, well, this is a pretty picture. Like someone's going to like this. This is another pretty picture. People are going to like this. And then when it came to like the wedding day and having to like really focus on those moments, because that's what they booked me for, I'm like not vibing with this. Like this is just, I'm not loving it. And I do really like to go with the flow. I'm very much of like a show up, make things work, figure it out kind of person. So when I was showing up and I feel like everything was super structured, it was giving me a lot of anxiety because I just wanted to hang out and do my thing and not have that pressure. So the more I share kind of the fun moments, and I'm like, I love the intimate moments, but like I like to have fun. So I will share that stuff because I want to attract the couples that are just down to have fun. That like, yeah, maybe I'll capture some of those intimate moments, but ultimately they just want to like enjoy being with each other and like hang out and like do something exciting, and let me capture it. And like, that's who I am. That's who they are. And since I've been doing that, the couples and like the clients that I'm attracting have been spot on, exactly what I was looking for. Like totally down for anything, just wants to have fun. I know one of my couples was like, yeah, like our book signing table is actually going to be a pong table, so that when we play beer pong, all of our friends have signed it. I'm like,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Why is that so cool? So I'm like, yep, love it. Like it's those kinds of people that I'm like are just down for literally anything and just want to have a blast. And those are the people I'm starting to attract. So it feels really good.
I love that share. And one thing that stood out to me, and for those of you listening, it's so beautiful how our bodies give us hints of what's going on and what we need to pay attention to. Because Tia mentioned that during a wedding, for certain reasons and certain situations, she felt anxious, right? And so if you're feeling anxious in certain times of your business or when you're shooting, pay attention to that, because that means that in that moment, you're out of alignment for some reason from the way you're meant to show up in the world and the way you're meant to, create even in this world. So just pay attention to that. That's why I'm so passionate about this mini course, because I get to literally teach you how to, be true to you, like market in a way that's true to you and no one else. So it's not like I'm like, here's how to market ABC, do this. And no, I empower you to do it how you want to do it, what's in alignment with you.
Exactly.
So I love that you mentioned that you were feeling that way. And now you're just like, oh, I just feel so free and open in myself, and my clients feel the same way too. It's like the most magical way to experience like documenting wedding days for sure.
Well, and I think those 3 words that, to really hone in on like who I am and like the type of people that I want to work with, the process of like deciding those 3 words was a whole process in itself for me. And I actually like behind each word, there's a why. Like there's a why that word represents me. And now that I'm like really showing up as like who I really am and like how I feel confident, it's like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just those whys are just coming so naturally. Like one of my words is heartfelt. And like, for me, I'm an extremely sensitive person. I'm an empath. I feel everything super deeply. I'm so emotional. Everything makes me cry. And like, I want to work with people who also like deeply value emotion and just like being vulnerable and being able to just let things out and like really feel things to its full potential. Because for me, that is important to me. I look at a picture and like I completely get transformed back to that moment, what I was feeling and the emotion it brought to me. And like I feel it very, very strongly. So I'm like, I want to work with people like that. So like for me, like that's one of my words, and that's also my why behind it. And it feels good to have like a why behind each one.
That's so beautiful. And don't you find that now with your couples, whether you have like a call to see if, like a consultation call to see if they're going to book with you or anything, don't you find that all of this just flows out of you so naturally? And then
so
if they value the same thing, like we are emotional people and we want a photographer that will appreciate that about us. We don't have to feel embarrassed or like whatever. If they hear you say that, it's going to be like, wow, she gets us. She sees us, like music to our ears. Okay, who cares about the price point? Let's cut down on flowers. We're going to make this work. Like that's how people end up thinking, right?
Oh, big time. Calls are so much easier now. Like I just show up and chat. Like it used to be like, I'd show up and be like, okay, so this is the process. This is how things go. This is what to expect. I'm like, nope, let's just show up and chat. Let's see if we vibe. Let's see if we connect. If you have questions, I'm here to answer. I try and give as much information out there already as possible, so that it's just easy. And like, so far, so good.
That's awesome. Okay. So now tell me, compared to last season, the 2021 season, going into it, right? Yeah. And compared to you now going into the 2022 season this year, what's the difference in how you feel?
My confidence, 100%. Like I feel more confident now, especially in my business, than I ever have before, because I feel like I can just effortlessly show up and be myself. So I'm an extrovert, like extremely, extremely extroverted. Like if there was a spectrum, I'd be at the very end of extroverted. And like, for me, sometimes, and I've, been in situations where I feel like I have to hold myself back. And I hate that to my core. I hate when I feel like I have to hold myself back and I can't just talk. I can't just be seen or heard and just like be a part of everything. So now I don't know, I have this new confidence. Like I can just show up and just be me. Like I'm going to be an extrovert and that's it. If people like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. I show up at weddings and I know the right time and place, obviously, where to, to be a fly on the wall. But then I also know that I've given myself permission to just be myself. If I want to dance with my couples, I'm going to dance. If I want to, I don't know, jump in the water with them, I'm just gonna. Like I used to have this like reserve of like, oh, I can't be too crazy. Like, no, just be me.
I love that. And would you say that you felt, because I know there's so many different chapters in growing a business. And I know I deal with these chapters of like one point I'm on a high, I'm at the peak of the mountain. I'm feeling so confident in myself. I know who I am. I'm in alignment. And then I am navigating a new space. I'm growing in a different way that's uncomfortable. And then I find myself feeling imposter syndrome again. And then, okay, let me just realign myself here. Why am I scared to do this? Why am I not feeling confident in my own skin? And then I go back up the mountain and I'm like, yeah, Sara's here again. I'm confident.
Exactly.
Like I went through this whole journey, especially through the pandemic. Oh my gosh. I went way down into imposter syndrome and all of that. So how do you feel now? Like, do you feel like you've also experienced that in your photography journey where you had this like low feeling of imposter syndrome? And then do you feel like it's like kind of, you're not in that space anymore because of this?
Yeah, I feel like the reason, imposter syndrome is something probably is my number one struggle since I started my business. Mainly because I started right when I was out of high school. So like I was super just like, I felt like I was too young. Like no one's going to take me seriously. I didn't know what I was doing. I never went to school for it. I was like, this is it. Like I don't know what I'm doing. But the more I grew, the more confidence I've gained, and I still kind of struggled with that. But I think the biggest difference now is that I'm not trying to be something I'm not. So it's really easy for me it gets easier for me now to not feel imposter syndrome because I'm just being myself. Yeah. And I feel when I kind of like dove in on like who I was, I realized that like the more I'm just me and like showing up authentically, the more I'm going to stand out, the more I'm going to be unique. And like, why am I comparing myself to someone else when there's someone out there that is for me? Because, like I like myself, I'm happy with who I am. So if I'm happy with who I am, someone else is going to enjoy being around me too. And there's, different photographers and different people, and we all connect differently. And I think that's the most beautiful thing is that like there are some couples that aren't for me, and that's totally okay. And I want to work with the ones who are for me. So I just found that like, that confidence of like learning to let go of comparison and being like, well, they do it that way because it works for them. But like, that's not who I am. And I don't want to be that anymore. I'm like, I want to be me. I want to do this my way because that's what feels good. And that's okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Isn't it kind of funny how imposter syndrome has the word imposter in it? So we feel lost, we feel heavy, we feel like we doubt ourselves. And it's because we are being an imposter in a way, because we're trying to be and do something in a way that someone else does because we think, well, they're successful. So that means that's the only way, or that means that that's the way to success. But when we figure out a way to, implement certain like principles of maybe doing business, like, okay, it'd be a good idea to structure your packages this way, but then from there, use your own uniqueness to fuse that in. It's like, you can't feel like an imposter when you're just being yourself. Like, do you like,
no, literally you can't.
For those listening, do you feel like an imposter with your parents, with you being their kid? Like, no, because it's just you are their kid and you're just naturally that, and it comes effortlessly. Like, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah, I love that you shared that. Oh my gosh, so many great takeaways. So for a photographer that's listening right now and they really want to learn how to get to the point of like being able to confidently inject, who they are in their business, and pretty much get the results that you talked about today. If they're kind of on the fence with like signing up for Crystal Clear Marketing, the mini course, what would you say to them?
That the steps are literally so simple. Like, there is so much information in this course, and it's like, sometimes I was like, wow, like this is so straightforward. Like, how did I not get this before? But then sometimes you just need to hear someone reiterate that. You need to hear someone tell you, and then tell you what steps to take, and actually give you tasks to complete. And those were so helpful. Just being given a task and be like, do this task, do it this way, learn about this, and then go from there. And like, diving into each kind of like assignment after each module was just, I was like, okay, like step 1 done. Okay, I feel good about this. Or even like learning my why, I was like, I don't feel good about this. Like, this is not vibing with me. This is not sitting well. Do it again. And the more I did it, the more I was like, okay. And like, if someone just said, this is what you need to do to improve your marketing, I'd be like, cool. I don't know what to do. Like, that's it. So like, having those steps are so helpful. And it made a difference. And like, also paying for something also gives you that like accountability of like, okay, well, I spent money on this. Like, exactly. I got to do it. That's what I'm like thinking about with Omi right now. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I paid for it. So like, shoot, I better really get into this. Like,
the transformation is in the transaction.
100%. Yeah. And I think like having just like after going through it and getting that confidence, now I have this confidence to charge what I know I deserve, and just focus on other aspects of my business, because it's like, well, I'm just being myself. Everything's been implemented, and now things are just flowing exactly how they're supposed to be. So the implementation is definitely key, but having those assignments helped.
That's amazing. And actually, and talking about pricing, didn't this also give you the confidence to raise your rates slowly but surely?
Oh, big time. Yeah, I actually have been using your suggested technique of increasing by a little bit every few weddings that I book. And at first I was like, that is literally terrifying. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm just doing it. Like, I'm literally just doing it, and it's been working. And if it doesn't work, if I feel like it's not, then I can always lower them. I can always change it up. I can always change my approach, but it's just, everything's kind of been falling into place. And I actually have this confidence of being like, well, this is what I charge.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that is it. And this is why. This is the value behind it. And like, it's not up to me anymore. Whereas before, I think I was just, again, the imposter syndrome. Like, because I'm not like thinking about that right now, and because I feel confident, it's just so much easier to be like, yeah, these are my prices.
Yeah. It affects everything. It ripple your confidence in your business, of how you run your business, how you show up, ripple effects into everything, including how confident you are to raise your rates and charge what you're meant to charge. Like, it's just, it's incredible. And Tia, thank you so much for sharing everything. This has been such a value-packed episode, and I would love to know, and I'm sure everybody else would love to know where they can find you if they want to connect with you.
Yeah. Instagram is probably like one thing I'm the most active on. So it's Tia Larissa Photography. So TIALORYSSA Photography. And I'm pretty active on there. So you can follow along, and I'm, always on my stories and stuff too. So please connect with me. I love to chat. I love to make new friends. It's like my favorite thing in the world to do is like make new friends. So
clearly Miss Extrovert, which is cool. Such a cool
just everything flows.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sara Monika Photo. That's Sara no H, Monika with a K, photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.